So, today we'll be examining UAS systems and how those UAS systems can improve and develop certain public safety industries. And specifically, we'll be looking at roughly 5 quadcopter designs and how they can efficiently improve and up your quality of standards for your UAS industry or organization. First off, I'd like to introduce the Matrice 210, simple quadcopter design by DJI. Right here you can see a sort of configuration with 2 payload options, and here are some extra payload options if you see fit. The second will be a DJI Inspire 2. You can see here the retail price is around $3 grand. A little bit smaller than the Matrice 210, a little bit more versatile, a little bit quicker. So yeah, there's the DJI Inspire 2. Next we have the Skyranger Pro. A little bit more demanding, a little bit more rugged, and with that comes a little bit more expenses. We'll take a look at that later. But overall, a really special drone, really versatile in the field of public safety, able to do search and rescue missions as well as firefighting and your standard law enforcement procedures very easily. As you can see here, it's being advertised for military uses, so you'll be very pleased with the public safety uses it can handle. Next off, we have the Matrice 600. We like to call it the 210's bigger brother. It's got 6 rotors up there, able to handle everything the 210 can, and possibly a little bit more, although it does only have one drawback with the one payload option design. Again though, being a DJI product, it does come with all the payload options that the original 210 did as well. Lastly, we'll be looking at the Unique 520, H520. Again, sort of a singular payload option sort of UAS system. But again, excellent use for UAS systems for anything from public safety to standard law enforcement procedures. From there, a little research and a little grit got us to come up with this excellent list known as the Kano diagram. The first 5 options you see here are what we like to call the threshold items, something that should come standard to all UAS systems, a part of a public safety program, and what we deem most necessary. And you can see that by the average weight, or what we like to call the average weight based on the points, is stated at a 5. The next sort of 5 items here are the performance items, and they're what we like to call as, they may be necessary, but they're also a little bit more entertainment. And with that, they do have a higher weight than sort of your necessary, or your sort of excitement factor items, but again, they are sort of more important, and we saw them sort of a middle ground between having fun and having what's necessary. And with that being said, the last category here, these last 5 are all your excitement items, which we like to say that's where the fun comes in. That's all the cool toys you get to use, all the cool things you get to show off to your buddies, which really makes the UAS stand out from any other sort of drone. So once we've taken a look at all the items, we then cross-reference those items back to their UAS systems, looking at all 5 and then grading them on the scale of 0 to 3. From there we get their scores, 0 being the UAS system does not come with that sort of item, 3 being it's standard, straight out of the box, and 1 being most likely not, while 2 being most likely it would. And from there we multiply it by the average weight and we get a average weighted score, which we can then use to put into a formula and give us a basic functionality sort of number that we can translate into a number that we can visually represent and look saying this UAS outperforms this UAS and at what cost. So going ahead and taking a look at that, we have three charts here. The first one, like I said, the functionality versus cost. We took all the numbers from each UAS system and then multiplied or added up all their average weights and then divided by 100 to get an average functionality score for that system. And from here we can see that our two leading UAS systems would be the Skyranger R60 at about a 0.91 functionality score out of 0 to 1, and then the Matrice 210 at a 0.75. However, with this we can look at the functionality and then we can compare the prices. So for these, the Skyranger Pro, even though it does outperform what we would like to see for a public safety program, it is about $50,000 extra, and with that you could possibly spend an extra $50,000 on the Matrice 210, upgrading it, bringing your functionality score up. So just some things to keep in mind. Moving down the sections, we just basically listed out the components per section per drone. So all those scores from the Kano exam diagram on the last page, you can see each of those scores and who has what sort of items in their in their system, and how they break down into that threshold, performance, or excitement sort of value. And then at the bottom, just kind of the singular diagram from the one at the top, just a simple cost diagram of what drone costs what and who outperforms each other. Nobody likes looking at numbers. That's why we went ahead and create this in a graphical representation to make it nice and easy to see. So that second chart we looked at, the components per section, here it's a little bit nicer to lay out and get a feel for what those numbers were representing. Here you can see each of the brown ones up top is your excitement factor, really, you know, what gets the juices flowing, what perks your, boils your blood in the morning for the drone systems. Here in the middle we have the green sections. That's more of your performance, where you get the nitty-gritty sort of flying characteristics, the handling, and whether or not you are comfortable with the drone. And then at the bottom with the orange, we can see the threshold, again, what is necessary for the drones. And then lay them out all next to each other, you can kind of see how each drone stacks up against one another. Moving on along, simple cost diagram. Obviously, with the Unique 520, the Matrice 600, and DJI Inspire, they're obviously lower cost drones. Basically, just the manufacturing cost of it. They're not built up to the standard of rugged and tough in which we would be looking for public safety systems, especially, you know, going in search and rescue operations, firefighting operations, law enforcement operations. It can get dangerous, and with that, you know, you want a system that can take all that, in which we feel the Matrice 210 and the Skyranger R60 Pro are most suitable for that. The last would be the functionality score, and taking a look at it, you can really see how each system stacks up against each other. Again, you can clearly see the R60 Skyranger and the Matrice 210 clear front runners. In our expert opinion, we would like to see the Matrice 210 in service for us, because even though it does have a lower functionality score, as I mentioned before, the $50,000 difference between the cost of the R60 and the cost of the Matrice 210 is really, I think, looked over upon, and something that can be used in all sorts of areas, between improving the safety of our sort of culture that we look to implement, or even improving the drone itself, you know, upgrading some of the features to really make it worth the 0.91 functionality score that we see in a Skyranger. So, thank you.